The Buffs, the Colorado Buffs, will open the season with a primetime slot. And they will kick off the season on Big Noon Kickoff on Fox Sports. Let's talk about it, what it means, and what it means for the rest of the year, and how this continues to play into the narrative that Colorado will be the most discussed team in all of college football this year. After the bumper, let's stay tuned. What is going on, everybody? What is going on, everybody? My name is JeffLightsyJr. This is the Victory Formation Sports Show right here on JeffLightsYJr. YouTube, Facebook, wherever you get your content. Do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button as you come on into the room. Come on into the room because we are talking about the Colorado Buffaloes. As Fox Sports announced that Colorado's first game under the Deion Sanders era, under the Coach Prime era, will be nationally broadcasted. It'll air on Big Noon Kickoff on Fox. Let's go ahead and show the graphic the Buffs had put out because they were announcing that their game will be on Big Noon Kickoff. Big Noon Kickoff versus TCU, September 2nd, 10 a.m. Mountain Time, 12 noon Central Time, 9 a.m. West Coast Time. It's very early. This is a very early game. 11 a.m. Central Time. And it'll be down in Fort Worth, Texas, as Colorado opens the season on the road against the team that played in the national championship game just last year, the TCU Horned Frogs. And it'll be a part of Fox's Big Noon Kickoff, their national broadcast, their thing that they do to rival College Game Day and the opening games over on ESPN. But this is Fox's creme de la creme, right? This is Fox's baby. This is what Fox does, their premier game of the week. And it'll feature Colorado the first week of the season. Deion Sanders and Colorado continuing to show that they have, they're worth a lot. The price of admission for the Buffs, the 2023 season is very, very high. And then the way Fox is marketing. So that was from the Colorado page. But look how Fox is marketing both the Colorado versus TCU game as opposed to the Ohio State-Michigan game. They're marketing them the same. And this is the marketing strategy that they're taking. They're saying that Colorado at TCU, Ohio State at Michigan, the biggest games of the season are on Fox. Obviously, that is a marketing ploy, that is a marketing tool, but that shows you to them, to us, to the world, how they view Deion Sanders at Colorado. They view him versus the team that played in the national championship game last year, a team that made it to the playoff last year in TCU, is a game worth mentioning in the same breath as Ohio State, at least for the 2023 season. Ohio State versus Michigan, that is, at least in the 2023 season. That is the power of Deion Sanders. That is the power of Coach Prime, because nothing about TCU, besides the fact that they played a national championship game, they got smoked 63-7. TCU is not a powerhouse. TCU is not a team that draws big ratings. TCU, most of y'all probably can't even name TCU's head coach, Sonny Dykes, and they were just in the national championship game. Now, we all know Ryan Day and Jim Harbaugh. We all know Ohio State and Michigan. We all know how big of a deal that is on the football field. But to have TCU, and let alone Colorado, in the same breath as of Ohio State versus Michigan, is all due to this man. Let's keep it a bean. It's all due to Prime. It has everything to do with Prime. And that shows you what kind of economic impact and how the college football, broadcasters view him. And why is this important? Because you're going to see Colorado in as bad as they might be, as bad, and they're probably, Vegas got the win over under at 3.5. As bad as they could potentially be, meaning Vegas thinks they could lose, they will only win 3 games. Vegas is betting that they win 3 or less games. Like that's how the Vegas odds is lined up. And as bad as they could potentially be. Now we don't know. I said 6. Vegas thinks 3.5. But it is what it is. We don't know. We won't know into the season. This is setting up, at least for their first couple of weeks. Now I don't know how it'll be in like week 7, especially if they have a losing record. But for those first 2 weeks of the season, this could set up Colorado to have premium primetime games. So much so that they even think so. Their fan bases even think so. just based off them getting Big Noon Kickoff that first week of the season. Well, what are you talking about, Jeff? Well, I'll show you what I'm talking about. This tweet right here got me thinking, and it made a lot of sense. It comes from the Barstool Colorado page after the announcement that they'll be playing on Fox week 1. The Barstool Colorado page made a very valid point, which is interesting. It says, could mean the Colorado versus Nebraska game, which they will be hyping Nebraska because they have a big, their tradition wise, they sell out every game no matter how good they are. And they have a head coach who had a ton of success in college, just came from the NFL and is having a lot of success from the recruiting trail. And Matt Rule, it says, could mean the CU, meaning Colorado versus Nebraska game the following week gets the ACC or the ABC prime slot in College Game Day in Boulder. That very well could be a possibility because it'll be Deion Sanders' first home game as the head coach at Colorado. It'll be an old school rivalry between Colorado and Nebraska. Those are old rivals. Old what? Big Ten rivals? Old Big Ten rivals or Big 12 rivals or something like that. And there's a little bit of bad blood. Matt Rule has been sending some little them John Morant shots at or Mikey Williams shots at Deion Sanders since he's taken over the job of Colorado. And maybe, just maybe, ESPN wants to buy into the new Nebraska hype, the prime Colorado hype, and the little bit of, tension there between Rule and Coach Prime. And maybe they want to capitalize on all of it while it's still warm in Boulder in September. It's just a thought. It's just a thought, and it's a thought that makes a ton of sense. It's a thought that makes a ton of sense because you don't want to go to Colorado in week 8 if they're potentially 4-4. No, that's not any good. You might not even want to go to Colorado if they're 0-1, right? So them beating TCU if they beat TCU, I think that is totally happening. If Colorado wins week 1 on Big Noon Kickoff in that game against TCU and they're 1-0 going home for their game against Nebraska wins their first game, I do think what we just saw, I do think College Game Day will be there. I do think all of that for Prime's first game at Fossum Field as the head coach. I think all of that will be there. Colorado's 0-1. It makes it a little harder, but I still think there's a possibility. But it's hard to go. And I think College Game Day will be in Boulder this year. But I think it probably ends after week 2. So one of those 2 weeks, it has to happen. Well, it's not going to happen the first week. Big Noon Kickoff will be there. But if it could very much well happen that second week. And it really can't happen after that, especially if they end up, losing a ton of games, which Vegas seems to think they will, meaning if they'll never rank, there's no reason to go there if they're not ranked. You know what I'm saying? So that's why week 2 makes a ton of sense, especially if they beat TCU day week 1. They're going to be the most talked about team in college football. They're going to be the most scrutinized team in college football. They're going to be the most analyzed team in college football. And they're a team that's going to get a ton of praise, but a whole bunch of hate just because of the way they do things out there in Boulder with Coach Prime running the show. So it is going to be interesting, but we see that the marketing, the money matters. Big Noon Kickoff, Prime makes a lot of people a lot of money. Big Noon Kickoff's there because he's going to make them some money. It's going to be a ton of ratings. If they win that game, College Game Day will probably be there week 2 because it's going to get a ton of ratings and it's going to make them a lot of money. Him versus Rule, Nebraska versus Colorado, et cetera, et cetera. College football has become very regional. They want to continue to expand. And if Colorado's any good, or if Nebraska's any good, or even if those 2 schools just don't like each other, those 2 teams or those 2 coaches just don't like each other, it's good for TV. It's good for TV and it's good for ratings. And people will tune in to see what happens to each and every program. And that's good for ESPN, Fox, ABC, and everybody involved. And so that's why this will be the most watched team, the most scrutinized team, the most analyzed team, the most talked about team in all of college football, even more so than the 2-time defending national champions, Georgia, even more so than Nick Saban and Alabama, even more so than Ryan Day and Ohio State. That's just how I feel. And we're talking about a team that could win 3 or 4 games. But that's just the way it rolls. Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Big Noon Kickoff will be at Colorado week 1, and we could potentially see College Game Day there in Boulder for week 2. Is that a good idea? Leave your thoughts in the chat. Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Once again, my name is JeffLightsyJr. This is the Victory Formation Sports Show right here on JeffLightsyJr. YouTube, Facebook, and wherever you get your content. Do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button on your way out. Like, share, and subscribe. Also, Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at JLightsy7. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at JLightsy7. Thank you guys for tuning in. As always, hit that like button before you get out of here, and I'll see you next time. Peace.